Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Brightworks and another high-level match of Beyond All Reason. Today, taking a look at a map that I cannot wait to see more games on. It's called The Ditch Remake, version 1.5. Sorry, not 0.5. I am super stoked to see a match on this map here. We played this once on the stream on Tuesday, and it was a whole lot of fun, and I really think it has a whole lot of potential. So real quickly, just because it is a new map, I do want to take a brief look around and about and see what's going on. I do notice already today, it looks like they've reduced the water level. Typically, these pawns right here, this one down south, and then this whole area in the center, and then this one up north would all be filled with water, but it looks like the pros today decided that they were going to play a dry, ditched remake. Speaking of pros, why don't we meet our leaders today? Going to be representing the blue team as an Armada commander, it's gonna be 8D. Wind speed quite high on this map, so I can understand why going for some of those wind turbines up front was well worth it here. Wouldn't be surprised if we see some heavy wind turbine investment. There's a lot of flat open ground over here that would be perfect for building massive wind farms. Wouldn't be shocked in the slightest to see those coming up here from a lot of these players. Some other notable names up here. We're well into the 40s, so this is at least at the upper echelons of both teams here, pretty well into the pro level competition, so expect some high level gameplay today. Our red team leader, also an Armada commander, going for a couple more wind turbines on the back of 3 metal extractors in a vehicle bay. It's going to be Sabotai. Sabotai going into that vehicle bay and pumping out a couple of rovers. I wouldn't be surprised if these don't head on over across the map. There's this huge lowland area to go capture and keep control over here, and especially with this being taken out, all the water here, so this is now just a flat area to fight over. Yeah, that's going to be really difficult to hold, especially considering the metal points are over here, but there's obviously this vast open area that people are going to want to run units through. It's going to be tricky. I'm excited to see how the red and blue team leaders go head to head over here on the southern lane. Northern side, mirrored of course, so also similar battle. Gonna be between Zhao as well as Zito, or Ziteo, might be Ziteo. Either way, lots of metal on this map as well, I do notice. 2.2 is all over the place. It's that's one of the higher metal values. Certainly scales very quickly here. Well worth trying to get control of those, try and capture those as quickly as you possibly can. I think this is a excellent map for that sort of play style, right? Very aggressive, very early expansion. Resbots over here eating up a whole bunch of resources. Tech's trying, thinking at the very least about killing those Resbots. They definitely should. Well, a little bit of an oversight right there by Hobo Joe, not giving those ticks the command in order to go kill these Resbots over here. And so indeed, the red team is going to get a wonderful, wonderful reclamation over on the middle islands over here, pulling back hundreds and hundreds of metal towards their combined economies. Very nicely done here for Console Plus Zaddy as well as Zydeca. Somebody asked me in the comments if plus means please, and yeah, I mean, technically speaking, yes, it should be console please Zaddy, but if you write PLS, I'm obligated to say plus instead of please. Already aggression all over the place. Whoa, commander going down. What on earth? Oh, okay. Looks like Sabotai was trying to move the commander around with the transport here. Looks like 8D was doing the same thing, and it did get caught by a couple of fighters here. Now all that metal is going to go back to 8D as, that's an early commander kill. 2 fighters managed to take down that commander. Very, very nice to see. Kind of surprised they didn't kill 8D, who was also in a transport ship right there as well. At the very least, 8D does manage to pull that metal out of that wreckage in time, but man, that is an unfortunate loss. Looks like the red team was looking to get something going here, do some cheeky shenanigans, and instead ended up losing a commander for it. That's very unfortunate. Nice snipe with the forces of Sabotai here. Taking down one of those air towers over here and also catching a couple of those reinforcing forces. Immediately, a bunch of blitzes are sent on over. Now, these blitzes are going to find the commander that's setting up over here. What is AD going to do with all that metal? 1,250 metal back into his pockets, and I wonder what we're going to do with it. Wonder if any of it's going to be shared to the backline here. It looks like Angry Strawberry is already going up to her T2 vehicle lab here. Wouldn't be surprised if we see this T2 vehicle lab being used to tech everybody in the region up. You're kind of in a really centralized location in this part of the map here, so I wouldn't be surprised if she ends up handing out those T2 engineers to basically everyone around here. Obviously could be helpful to have the team send some of those forward as well. Now, we did see transports, but I'm kind of surprised we didn't see transports trying to take this center island right here. Would have been well worth it. Another commander sacrificed over here. It's going to be Angry Strawberry putting her commander down and out of its misery and eating its corpse to fund the technological advancement. Fairly realistic, huh? Eat the corpses. Use them for fodder for the next generation. Front lines starting to get established all over the place, and boy, are they messy. You have so much open ground to try and conquer here. It's very, very tricky. Starting to build up forces right now here for Sabotai. 8D building, well, 2 forward vehicle base. Interesting. I guess that wasn't the positioning he wanted, so ended up changing it up here. Oh, using the transport to move around some build power over here. That's quite nice. We don't see that all too often, but if you have to spare APM for it, it can definitely help out. You have your main facility where you build construction towers, right, to help with your laboratory, but you can also send those construction towers to actually help. Yeah, they can help your front line. Now, this is quite nice for AD, building these units on the front line like this. It does mean that, at least for the time being, reinforcements are going to hit the field a whole lot sooner. I think Sabotai needs to get a little more aggressive right now. At the very least, shutting down these LLTs, but maybe even trying to trade against this slightly smaller force would be well to do, so that that commander can actually, the red commander that is, can start to make some use of that metal right there. Oh, you know what? I have completely misread this. I'm sure somebody's already hopped into the comments and pointed it out already. That was Sabotai's commander going down here, who is obviously the red commander. So this was not a cheeky kill here for the red team. In fact, it was a cheeky loss for the red team and a nice little snipe here for the blue team. Okay. That makes this a whole lot worse for the red player here. Because I was wondering where on earth is Sabotai's commander, and I just pieced together that's his gravestone right there. Well, forgive me for that misread on the situation here. These armies will clash, and the advantage will go to the one who has more units. That being said, AD doing a decent job, taking a pretty good fight right there. Okay, actually managing to pull out of that. Way nicer, way ahead of the curve there. I really thought those units were going to be lost. Eating up a whole bunch of this metal, and now, yeah, that's actually a tremendous loss right now for Sabotai. Sabotai is going to need to invest in some heavier hitting units. He does have a bunch of medium tanks rolling on out there, but I think we need some Janisses. Those are really the only thing that's going to get as efficient a trade as you need in order to get back into this match, considering all that commander's health has been lost. Shuriken shot out of the sky by a couple of Valiants, flying on overhead, but there are counter Valiants trying to snipe the air defenses out of the skies, and we have a couple of Janisses firing away. Ooh, that hurts. Yeah, every one of those Janisses, man, they bring the pain, and there's a whole bunch of them too. Well, those ones are a little distracted. Complicated battle all over the place. Zydeco has claimed his high ground right here from Hobo Joe. Put down a metal extractor on these 3.4s. That's very nice. Hobo Joe trying to build some beamer turrets up here, which is really cool. Beamer turret doing a great job working away at a lot of these grunts over here. Nicely done. Gonna start working on some of these aggravators as well. Good to see. Aggravators starting to fall here as the beamer gets to work. Man, those beamer turrets are powerful, huh? See Zydeco now down to 83%. I'm not sure if that commander was damaged already or not, but yeah, those beamers doing some good work over here. Tons of maces fighting this army over here. Well, those pounders getting huge connections though. Wow. Shredding off percentages of the mace's HP. Probably about a third or so of the mace's total HP right there. Very brutal. This is a very complicated engagement as well. Orange forces pushing in here, assisted by the maroon forces of Majon Zone. More Majon Zone, or Majon Zone. Majonzon? Let me know how you think that's supposed to be pronounced down below. This battle is starting to heat up, or continuing to heat up, I should say. Well, that constructor has to stay alive. If that constructor falls, I do believe it's going to be a pretty bad situation here for our red team leader. Sabotai now finding himself in a pretty tricky spot. Yeah, how do you get back out of this? How do you take in more efficient trade against someone who just has more units than you, more of the same type of units than you, and also, you know, has the skill in order to use those units efficiently? It's tough. It's a tough one. T2 transitions might be the saving grace here. If we could see T2 propagated quickly enough and send T2 down south there, maybe T2 can save, but it's a long way for T2 units to travel, and these red units would have to hold on for quite some time in order for that to come true. Meanwhile, 8D is just taking these trades, backing off, eating up the metal, and continuing to push forward here. Very nicely done. A couple of bombers out here used offensively. Trying to, well, obviously used offensively, but I mean, I guess used defensively is what I really mean. Trying to take down some of these units that are being aggressive here. Yeah, I mean, not great, but you got to use what you got, I suppose. There they go. I mean, okay, yeah, get a tank kill, sure. Bombers with 1 kill to their name. I think that's that tank right there. It's a tricky situation, being the air player and having to defend your ground forces. Now, this is a tricky situation. 8D has been completely cut off from his team at this point. Maroon player has effectively got the world's largest surround on the blue player. Maroon versus blue. We got a mine layer here trying desperately to mine out this center part of the map here with a whole bunch of medium mines, trying to make it very difficult for units to incur over on that side. So it looks like the red player just has to hold on, right? If Sabotai can manage to hold this bottom line, then eventually his team is going to be able to wrap southernly and clean up this force over here. And in fact, I think if they manage to do that, it would basically secure this game right now, because forces are pushing in left, right, and center here into the centers of the blue team's production here. Yeah, wind turbines falling, solar's falling, we have all sorts of stuff. T2 is finally out on the field. It'll be great for tearing down that T1, but it has to get there first, right? And that can take a long while, especially on a map as big as this. Constructor's in a whole lot of trouble. Uh-oh. I don't think they're going to be around for too much longer here. So they get blasted to smithereens by a whole bunch of those aggravators. Nicely done. Finally, some grunts are headed down south here. They're going to find the little fortified section over here. I think a couple of beamer turrets might have been a better investment. 2 beamer turrets probably does better than 3 LLTs here. Still, not the end of the world, and I don't think 8D saw this coming here. Now there's an entire army of grunts swarming his little defensive position over on this side, and that's going to do some serious damage. Well, they're not really focusing the LLTs. It's a little bit of an inefficient trade here, but I do believe eventually everything over here is going to be cleaned up. Ooh, that LLT needs to go down. There we go. LLT finally goes down, which is the last of the defenses, and that's going to be the blue constructors over here. 8D is left with his death ball and is kind of forced into an all-in situation here. This is all the reinforcements he's going to get, aside from, whatever he can pump out of this lab here. But all of the production has been wiped out. His backline is in shambles. Everybody is falling rapidly here. All of this has been wiped away as well, which is a 6.6 metal deficit right now for the blue commander as well. Important to remember, because it does mean that it's just slightly less tanks per second coming out here. This is nice. Moving forward, trying to get a little bit of aggression done. At the very least, going to snipe a metal extractor away. Shurikens are out here, but there are some missile trucks folded in. Good enough to shut down a lot of those shurikens that are pushing across the map. Huge amount of aggression over here, though. We do see gunslingers used against those T1 medium tanks. It's pretty much their ideal situation. Yeah, Kuchi pointing out that it's a 1v3 here with that forward lab. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to hold on all too long here. Yeah, T1 just doesn't stand up against T2 all too well. Gunslingers trying to keep themselves healthy, but also stay in the fight. It's a tricky balance, but if you can achieve it, you can end up with some truly powerful units. Gunslinger is one of those units that gets increasingly experienced from combat. All units gain experience, but Gunslingers more so. I guess they just pay more attention or something. Either way, going to tear down all the facilities over here. Down they go as the Gunslingers march in. Yep, and T2, encroaching from all sides, will eventually push Kuchi out of that section of the map. Yeah, Resbots running away here. Wouldn't mind seeing these eat up all the metal over here, and indeed it looks like that's kind of what they're headed for. This this pawn is on a mission, trying desperately to kill this Resbot. Well, one day maybe. One day. Yeah, these medium tanks haven't been addressed though. So there's just barely a big enough army here to stop the forces, but there's not enough to clean up these runaway medium tanks here. So this is a bit of a tricky scenario. Whose job does this become, right? Well, most of these tanks are crossing into the jurisdiction of our maroon player here for the red team. So at the very least, he'll have some grunts pouring out to try and clean up a lot of these. Sabotai just can't afford to pull these tanks from their front line, though. With AD continuing to produce them on the fronts here, there's just no way. And also, there's a console on the front, so we could start to see that Hound production. Oh, unless the Hound has been removed. Oh, okay. We've had a little bit of a change to what the Hound can, or what the console can produce. It can produce sprinters and gunslingers now, as well as webbers and pawns and all that sort of stuff. That's interesting. Okay. Gunslingers would definitely be my weapon of choice here. Oh, yeah, those Janices are going to get some huge connections. Oh, can we get the commander down? Oh, maybe we could kill the commander. Maybe. Oh, nope. Too inefficient. There goes all those tanks to a couple of D-guns. Oh, no. Way too many tanks lost to the D-guns. Meanwhile, spiders have crawled their way across the mountains and are now firing on the fusion reactor here for Zhao. That started to hurt. Carved away at a whole bunch of the metal extractors all over the place as well. Those spiders actually getting tremendous value all over the place. Having a hard time against incisors, I suppose, but up on the hills, yeah, those tanks are going to not move all too quick, and that makes them a ideal target for those spiders. Would love to see some webbers included in the mixture here. Oh, going for some medium mines. Okay. We're a little late to the punch with that, but it is a good idea here. Yeah, not bad. Oh. Here we go. We all want to see it. He knows that the Twilight is there and wants to pop it without paralyzing his own forces here. Yeah, I think this is much better. I'm going to mine up this ramp over here. I think it's going to be a lot harder for the tanks to push up right now. Constructor will eat up that wreckage before being converted into wreckage of its own. Medium mine does collide over here. It's enough to deter the blue forces, but now T2 is starting to crawl its way out of that console's blueprint printer as well. Tricky. Center of the map still held by Zydeco here for the red team, although being pushed back actively by Hobo Joe and his T1 force, also accompanied by a couple of T2 hounds. Not bad. There is a spy bot here to try and help out with those T1 forces and some of those fiends as well, try and figure out what's going on here. A massive EMP connection could actually make this a really efficient trade. Oh yeah, I feel like we should pull the units back and go for an EMP. Okay. Oh, spy bot is found. Oh no. Oh, spy bot is lost. That's really unfortunate. I can almost have seen the EMP right there connecting with the majority of this army, and those fiends would have absolutely torn it to shreds. Units leaking all over the place here. Zhao is definitely starting to lose some ground in the middle of the map here. Just doesn't have a presence right here, and this is really the tricky part of this map, right? What do you do about the fact that there's this massive open ground, and whose job is it really to cover that, right? I think you just need enough radar towers to make sure you can always see run-bys happening, enough to at the very least keep the cleanup always addressing the issue there. AD's commander a little far forward. T2 is now out on the field. Uh-oh. We're grouping these units up pretty closely now. Commander still goes down, and that's going to be the blue commander. At the very least, relieving the pressure somewhat from the red team here, but there are now ticks running in all over the place. Oh boy. Yep. Alright. This is a bit of a bold production here. AT with so many constructors. How many constructors is that total? 20 constructors total. Going into a T2 lab here. I think we need to eat up some of these constructors in the T1 lab. I don't see this ever working out here. Lightning tanks now ripping everything to shreds. Well, Janice gonna save the day, I suppose. Not for long, though. Here come the fiends. Happy to clean everything up over here. Self-destruct. Get a huge trade right now. Well, I guess it doesn't have to. It's not really being killed by anything. Oh, there we go. It does self-destruct. And at the very least, the T2 lab is spotted, so that's quite nice. At least being aware that there's some sort of issue down south here to address is going to be very helpful for the red team, knowing that the T2 lab is, well, now completed. Hopefully some forces can be spared down south there. There is a incursion of pawns that was sent across the map as well, mostly cleaned up here by shurikens and a bunch of runaway other units. But yeah, definitely very annoying to deal with. You can see the hesitancy here as a lot of these players are trying to figure out what angle they should push in from, and whether it's too aggressive to go for some sort of an incursion on the other side of the map, or whether they're justified in moving their units across here. I think my approach to this would be basically just to always try and take sectors of the map, right? So maybe try and capture this center island, and then try and capture this northern zone, and then try and capture this northern half or something like that. Try and break it into reasonable sections, and then try and break it in that such of a way. This is kind of cheeky. We've got a couple of cameras over here, beholders, I believe. Yeah, that's pretty funny. Those must have been built a long time ago by Zateo when he captured this area, and has long since been recaptured here, but unlikely that anything is going to find those. Karganath are now out, and they're, well, T3. They're not the pinnacle of destruction as far as T3 goes, but they're definitely quite powerful. Oh, this is a problem, though. Yeah, those spiders, they're really good against slow-moving units, and the Karganath is about as slow-moving as it gets there. Oh my goodness. Karganath melted away by a whole bunch of those recluses. Very nice to see. This is a nice big prolonged battle over here. We do have those arbiters firing away from long range, trying to besiege all of these units right here for the blue player. Sheldon in the back also contributing, supporting firepower, but yeah, those arbiters are really messing up the static defenses over here. Arbiters so devastatingly effective. Looks like they're being told where to fire here. Nice. It'll only be a matter of time before those arbiters do manage to break that line from Hobo Joe, so we're going to need to see some sort of impressive defense there. A change of tactics at the very least. Pitbull was built up on this hill. I quite like the position of that. Yeah, that's quite nice. Quite a long range, but also able to fire out kind of on its enemy rather than into its enemy. Oh, Spiderbot having a really hard time hitting this pawn. Uh-oh. Pawn does manage to destroy the advanced energy converter. When's the last time you saw a wreckage of an advanced energy converter, huh? These things are usually so explosive you don't really get a chance to see it. So this is really weird. Sabotage is now caught in a strange position here where there's not really a T2 transition available. He has T2 production out. There's no T2 constructor as far as I can see. Oh, I guess there's a T2 con over here. But he's really only got the one, so it's not full-blown T2 production. It's just kind of T2 adjacent production here. Versus 8D, who does have the full-blown T2 lab and has all of the all the advantages that come with having the T2 lab, right? You have all these different units that you're able to produce, can produce the Mausers, can produce the Bulls, can also produce these Ambassadors. We've seen just how powerful those Ambassadors can be in recent games. Very, very tricky to deal with. Big old run by of forces up north here. Angry Strawberry looking to secure the deal as she moves a bunch of these lightning tanks in. You can see just how light that anti-air is on those lightning tanks. It's very thin. But it is almost just barely enough to deal with Shuriken. And so pretty much exactly the perfect use case for these lightning tanks. Doing a little bit of a run by just so that you can try and figure out where the weak points in your enemy's armor are, and at the very least, maybe do a little bit of economic damage here. And yeah, for what it's worth, these lightning tanks do find a T2 constructor running for its life. Snagging that is quite nice. It doesn't seem like a lot, but that's 470 metal that you gotta put back into a constructor, not to mention all the energy and build time and all that sort of stuff as well. T2 metal extractor is also very nice to shut down. 8.7 metal per second denied by every single one of these that you kill. Definitely well worth it. Yeah, this is starting to hurt. Nicely done by Strawberry, finding exactly the right opening here to move some forces in and then expressing it thoroughly with those Jaguar lightning tanks in order to ravage the backline economies over there. Nicely done. Delphi in a little bit of trouble. Commander goes down here for the Canadian light blue player. Our neon blue player does go down here in the center of the map to a whole bunch of those fiends. Very powerful stuff. Difficult to deal with. Hobo Joe himself now in a little bit of trouble. Yeah. Commander taking some fire. Sumos need to get in front of the Sheldon here. Uh-oh. Oh, okay. Liking this less and less here as the commander does march forward, taking out a large portion of this army. Beamer turrets also doing wonderful work here, melting away a whole bunch of these units. Man, Beamer turrets. What a glorious static defense. At the very least, you know exactly how much damage you're getting and exactly what point. They're very straightforward about it. And there they go, holding the lines. I'm a huge spokesperson for the Beamer turret. I think it's one of the best static defenses in the game. Bar none. Mammoth under heavy fire over here. Mauser obviously unable to retreat, because once they start retreating, they can't swivel their guns back around and continue firing, but not really the end of the world here. They're more than happy to just fire away at that Mammoth as it walks around slowly. Spiderbots thinking about engaging the blue sector over here. Impressive hold over on the southern side, by the way. That looked almost completely crumbled. And instead the, blue forces actually managed to hold on here. I say that right as a massive run-by of maroon forces starts to run around. I think if we could break this position here for AD, it would definitely be a surefire GG. But as long as AD manages to hold over here, it's going to be very difficult to deal with. Shuriken now, moving to paralyze this whole force. Oh no, all those troops completely turned off. That is brutal. Mammoth starts marching forward with the assistance of these Twitchers, keeping it alive. It's taking damage and healing damage at the same time. They're scratching the paint off as the Twitchers are slapping it back on. Wax on, wax off with that Mammoth's paint, I suppose. Spiderbots, Mauser, basically everything gonna die to the Mammoth beam. It's like a heavy laser tower, but on steroids. Very, very powerful stuff. T2 Lab did get sniped though, so that's nice. Shuts down T2 production, at least for a little while here. But man, Console Police Zaddy is absolutely churning out units left, right, and center here. Nicely done. The trigger is finally pulled over here as well on the blue base. Do we have enough forces though? The Spider's perfect for sieging a lot of this static defense, but man, they need to get to work, huh? They're kind of wasting their potential right now, firing at things that don't really necessarily need to be bombarded this heavily. I think if they tried to take down the T2 lab, it would be well worth it. We've got a Fiend in the back line doing tons of damage over here, blasting apart a whole lot of these T1 constructors. Ooh, Pitbull comes up just in the nick of time. Yeah, Spider's hanging out up on the ridge over here, trying to take cover from these bulls. That's quite funny. Retreat to the hills. The red team looks like they're holding on, but they're just not able to do any damage right now. Yeah, the blue team is just continuing to scale. Wow. Strawberry already on a 3rd advanced fusion reactor right now. I mean, I say already. I've been watching quite a lot of lower true skill games, shall we say. And oftentimes 24, we don't see 3 advanced fusion reactors here. Very efficient ecoing. Very nicely done, of course. Going to mean that, yep, T3 production starts up relatively soon. As an Armada commander, you can pretty much start T3 production on a single advanced fusion reactor. It's very slow, T3 production, but it can make the difference in the early game. However, yeah, you go up to 2, 3, 4 advanced fusion reactors, you're going to be in a pretty sweet spot there. Marauder now running their way across the map. Marauder extremely powerful on this map when the water is left intact, because again, the water fills up this entire puddle down here. It makes a big circle around this center island and makes a big puddle up here, and Marauder can exploit that to devastating degrees. Whoa, bombers coming in to kill the T3 lab. Oh, he tried to self-D the commander to take out the bombers, but it wasn't enough. And those bombers do manage to ravage this northern section. Whole bunch of those hailstorms here. Oh, they didn't quite get the T3 lab though. Oh, that was absolutely their target. Here they go. Is there enough? Wow, there very well may not be. The T3 lab goes down, that is a huge waste of metal. Not to mention oh yeah, the T3 lab will go down. Wow, very nicely done. Okay, yeah, I thought the Juggernaut's health bar was the T3 lab, but nope. The lab will go down, of course, denying the Juggernaut that was being built there. A tremendous waste of metal, or loss of metal, I should say. Oh, and indeed, we do see the Tan player tapping out of the game at this point, as their forces are being routed up north here by a whole bunch of sharpshooters as well. This is the time when you start investing in ticks or grunts, either one. You start investing in some anti-air, maybe even an air factory of your own. It's a lot to manage. Very difficult to deal with. Meanwhile, Strawberry with a huge run by over here, devastating the main base here of our Maroon player on the red team, going to be taking down the T1 lab as well as all of the economy right here, and those tanks are looking healthy. Couple Marauder assisted by a Razorback also on the front lines. They've already taken down the Pitbull over here. There are some medium landmines, but those are only going to tickle the feet of a Razorback here. Thing is built for war, and it doesn't mind stepping on a landmine or two on its way directly towards your base. Gunslinger here trying its best. You know, fair enough. Gunslinger doing a decent job over there. There's not a great answer to this Razorback, though. This is where you really depend on a commander. And without the commander to stop this Razorback, there's just nothing it can do as it, well, the red commander can do as it plunges its laser lances directly into the heart of the red economy here. More Marauder streaming in. A second reinforcing Razorback, gonna be perfect for shutting down a lot of these Fiends running in as well. Fusion reactor falls under fire here. Things are looking quite devastating. Eventually, Strawberry's forces were cleaned up over here by some tanks pumped out by Console Plus. However, I think too much damage has already been done. Those Razorbacks continuing to work on all the economy over here. Going to snipe the Citadel as well, so no more anti-nuclear coverage, at the very least for the Southern forces. Big nuke is launched. Ooh, did it get anti-nuked? I don't see it. Doesn't look like it. Razorbacks tearing that base apart. Massive nuclear connection right there. Pops the advanced geothermal and sends the green base directly to beyond all reason hell. Meanwhile, while it was busy sending the green player into a spiraling abyss, the Razorbacks over here have wiped out not one, not two, but I do believe 3 different bases while they're about to wipe out a 3rd base. Anyways, this one's looking real low. I'm guessing it was standing right next to that advanced fusion reactor when it popped, but still, Razorbacks very tanky and very powerful. More than capable of ravaging a lot of these bases, especially without sufficient T2 defense. It does take significant T2 defenses in order to stave off Razorbacks. You're going to need 4 or 5 Scorpion turrets, maybe a Bulwark, maybe a couple Pulsars. You have to really overinvest to deal with Razorbacks efficiently, or basically any T3 for that matter. It's kind of the whole point, basically, is that defenses should always be able to be overcome. That's a core design tenet of the game. I've had people ask before, you know, why don't they do moving shield bubbles? Why don't they do you know, more impressive static defenses, right? Laser fences, that's one that comes up a lot that I really like. And it's basically just because they don't want defenses to really be that strong. Nice hit from that catapult, landing a whole bunch of rockets right here in the center of this grouping. If this catapult could fire again, that'd be really nice. It's on hold fire, so it needs to be manually targeted. Oh, please fire it. If that catapult could fire, it could definitely do some huge damage over here, but it looks like already too much damage has been done on the southern side. Razorbacks pulling the bases apart, Strawberry already moving in some more Marauders of her own, and the blue forces pushing on the southern side. What an impressive hold down here by 8D, managing to hold out in the middle of nowhere, no man's land indeed, and managing to continue the aggression right outside the front door of the red player. What an awesome series. I'm super excited to see this map. I really want to showcase a match on this map where the water level is not lowered, so maybe if you have a replay that went really spectacularly, you can always submit that through the Brightworks Discord channel. There's a whole channel dedicated to replay submissions. You can go ahead and throw the file or the link to the file on the website down there, which I'll have in the description down below. Other than that, though, I do hope you enjoyed. I know I sure did, and I will see you in the very next Beyond All Reason video. Peace out, folks.